in Okinawa in Japan, you know. So it kind of you're right there, especially for myself. It's like pulling a tooth out trying to buy a book and stuff, and then trying to the postage and packaging, trying to get it over to
Yeah,
Okinawa,
it adds
Japan. Then,
double to the
oh man,
price.
yeah, it's very very bad. Did I link up my channel there? I was actually thinking I might
Yeah,
link up
you've just
Twitch
gone
there.
live, I think. I
Yeah,
think my TikTok's actually linked up for once.
is it actually?
Yeah,
I might try to link up. What was it? Twitch.
but
I try it there now. See if it works. It probably won't.
but,
Probably use a different
but
coding now. Go
but
on.
then again, I don't know if we'll see the comments or not from TikTok.
Oh yeah, yeah. You need to keep an eye on that one. But they are updating it. There was an update this morning, and now we're able to this new update on Restream allows people to have what was it called? A full hour. What was it? 3 hours. You can now download 3 hours onto Restream, and then it puts it into all these tiny little clips and stuff. So, they are updating it and changing it. So there is that. But at the same time, it's like I'm still paying a good bit of money for this. So you kind of want all the fancy stuff now in a way, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, um, right. How's the boys? How are we all doing this morning? Is everybody
I'm
slowly coming
fine, just
in?
getting blasted by a storm.
Oh,
Which is a
aye.
funny name. I think England is getting hit worse. We just have the wind. We just have the wind howling.
Oh, all right. It's not too bad. I assume that's coming in from
Yeah.
Russia, is it?
No, I think it's coming in from the Atlantic, but
Ah,
it's
that's funny.
Storm Goretti or something. But it's causing chaos in England. Here, not so
Storm
much.
correct there. Aye.
Goretti.
Somebody is asking about Owen. What's your background there? Somebody's asking what's your background about.
Hold on, let me
What?
just turn on the comments. Um, I have a degree in social science actually, and then I
Aye,
have my doctorate is in it's in sociology, but it's historical sociology. It was on My doctorate was on the 9 Years' War
aye.
in Ireland, and then I have a postdoc in Irish history, basically
aye.
early modern.
I
I think so.
I don't want to. I don't want to. I think they meant your background behind you.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I mean, that's great though. It's great. There you
Aye,
go.
aye, aye.
It's
um,
Carrigafoyle Castle. It's
Mm,
oh, the
Carrigafoyle
O'Connor
Castle.
Kerrys.
aye. What's the history of that castle as well? Just out of curiosity.
It's it's O'Connor Kerry's castle,
Mm,
um, and it basically blocks or guards access to the Shannon to Limerick.
ah,
And there was a famous siege there in 1580.
mm,
If you get Google Carrigafoyle siege, it'll come up. So the English brought a whole pile of ships, and the
yeah,
ships were shelling it because you can see there's big holes in it if I move out of the way.
mm,
Then it got reoccupied. Um, then it got reoccupied, and there were a couple more battles in it. And I
mm,
think from after the Cromwellian Wars, it was abandoned, and the O'Connor Kerrys are long gone.
yeah.
But it's a lovely castle to visit because it's really high and it's
Mm,
over the Shannon,
aye.
and it's free to visit. So it's a beautiful place.
Mm, 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 mm.
You can
And
actually visit there, drive into Lislochton Abbey, which was O'Connor Kerry as well, and then drive
mm,
another half an hour, and you can visit the old Glynn Castle. And
yeah,
then 20 minutes later, you can do uh, that other big castle in North Kerry outside Tralee.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
They have a writing festival there.
Mm,
I've
mm,
forgotten
mm.
it.
Sounds
Um,
interesting though. And I have
yeah,
somebody taking the piss there of Mihal's background. Mihal, can you explain your background there? What's the history between your background there?
So this is my mum and dad's store cupboard because I'm still away on Christmas holidays, as it were, and I'm not back to where I live. So, so I am currently in a workshop that's filled with crafts material. So, if you want, I can start maybe stitching and sewing. You know, the little whales that she makes. You know, but no, yeah, and horse. Well, we're talking about cattle reading, horses. We're in the, you know, we're involved. So, no, so I am not at home. So this is and the system I'm using doesn't have a background filter thing to it. So you're just gonna have to look at the face and nothing behind it.
Yeah, we're definitely here. Go on there.
Brian Balby's asking a question. Didn't they have cannons near the church across the road? Yes, they did. It's an old medieval church. It's nice, but they planted cannons around it. They shelled it very badly, and killed everybody in it. But it's well worth a visit. It's well worth a visit.
Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, the history of the Iberian Peninsula and what was it called? The Brittany and stuff. That's all interesting stuff, all right. Like, it's always interesting how many people from the Iberian Peninsula have not just today have a lot of Irish heritage, but also the amount of Irish heritage we have from the Iberian Peninsula going up into Ireland as well is also very, very interesting. Your part of Ireland as well, Owen, has a ton of Iberian history, you know, going back all the way to the Bronze Age, from my understanding, all the way to present day.
Such as
and
the
go on.
world famous Kerry slug is
Oh, really?
is an immigrant. Yeah,
Really? No
Kerry
way.
slug. It's Kerry is part of Cork. It's an Iberian slug, which somehow or other found its way over here, and
Yeah.
has never managed. It's managed to get out of Cork and get out of Kerry and move into a bit of West Cork. But
Yeah.
apart from that, it's just down here. But Ballinaskellig's Bay is more than likely Inverscana, where according to Irish Gaelic mythology, the Gaelic the sons of Mill landed after coming from Spain, according to them. And if you go to one of the cities in Galicia, I think it's La Coruña, there's a Roman lighthouse outside it. It's called the Tower of Broga. And supposedly Mill climbed that at some stage and he saw Ireland from it.
Yeah.
So, and there are other bits and pieces, because you can get to Spain and Portugal by sailing ship, like a week, 10 days, again depending on the weather, etc. So, and like what you call it, Dingle has a treaty with some of the Habsburgs going back to 15 something. They made some sort of treaty with the Habsburgs, so it's very close here.
Nice. And I just had Rachel poking and prodding me there, just to remind you guys as well. Myself and Rachel have a GoFundMe up and going right now. We're trying to recreate 15th century clothing from Desmond Fitzgerald during the period of the Wars of the Roses in Ireland. So if you want to have a look there at that GoFundMe, I'll post that link there into the comment section. So definitely go and have a look at that one. The GoFundMe as well, if you want to know the name of it, is Help Recreate a 15th Century Irish Ensemble. And that's over at the GoFundMe. So definitely go and check that out. Especially if you're into 15th century Ireland or just clothing full stop. Definitely go and have a look at that one.
Somehow,
you want to say something there as well?
Brian has replied, and he mentioned Lislochton Abbey, which I visited. The day I took this photo, I visited Lislochton Abbey. Lislochton Abbey is very nice. It's destroyed like most of them. But if you go to the National Museum in Dublin, you'll find this beautiful cross. I think it's either 14th or 15th century. It's from Lislochton Abbey, and it
Mm,
got buried in a field in the 1640s or 1650s,
mm,
um, basically to stop the Cromwellian troops from destroying it. And then in the 19th century, it was found. But it's a very interesting piece of of what Gaelic, because the English people always, the English say, oh, the Irish are all barbarians, etc. But if
mm,
you actually have a look at this cross, it's very beautiful, lots of metalwork, etc. So if anyone is in goes into the National Museum of Dublin, go up to the first floor, and
yeah.
then they have an exhibition on Gaelic Ireland. This is the one on Kildare Street, and
Mm,
you'll see the actual cross there. It's well worth looking at.
I believe it has inscriptions referencing the creation of it by the O'Connor Kerrys as well, doesn't it?
mm,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think they know the exact which lord created it.
Yes. Yeah, I think I remember when I studied the clan and I can't remember the individual obviously, but yeah, it definitely has an inscription of him sort of saying that he paid for it and
Yeah,
donating it to the church for because he's such a saintly guy.
mm.
As they all were, all the lords, or all the clan chiefs and kings of Ireland, saintly, good Christian men.
exactly.
Someone's just asked there on my TikTok there about McCrory.
Mm,
McCrory is a variation of McRory. So McRory. So you'll have mostly associated with areas around like Ulster, which would be associated with either Gallowglass families coming in. So the McRorys were quite a prominent Gallowglass family. Then you have the Erna family, the native Irish family, who are earners of Ballynaskeen. And you have, I'm pretty sure, which is in Derry, and I'm pretty sure there's a couple of other smaller branches around. Surprising, like if you're a Rogers as well, that's an anglicization of the name. So you can be a McRory having the surname Rogers. So McCrory.
mm,
So
mm, mm, mm.
fire that in there. And actually, I want to say I'm a black guy in America from DEB, the University of Gods.
Mm.
My last name is Irish. I'm trying to see if I have Irish heritage or if I just have an Irish surname. Well, I mean, it's both. It can be both. But the way Irish surnames were formulated, theoretically, it wouldn't really matter. So unfortunately, Ireland has a limited but still association with the transatlantic slave trade and the Americas, with people owning slaves when they moved across. So you can have your name obviously transferred from freedom when you were freed, etc. But there's also, paternal, non-paternal events that took place. I won't go get us banned from any streaming platforms by saying what nasty things could happen. So yeah, but Irish surnames were something mostly adopted by, or clan names were sort of adopted by wider groups anyway. So I would say embrace the heritage. If you've got the surname, it doesn't really matter about genetics or we have a great history. So
Mm.
deep dive in.
Oh, I. And what else was I saying? Somebody asked as well. I'll actually copy and paste that one because I actually saw that over in your TikTok as well. Somebody asked, oh, wrong one, sorry. We'll answer that one just in a bit. But somebody was asking, is Fox an Irish surname? I've never seen Fox being
Yeah,
referred to as an Irish surname. Oh, is it? Is it Irish?
yeah. So it comes from is it An Sheernach? So it's found mostly in Meath,
Mm,
um, kind of in Westmeath, I believe it is. Yeah, so it's an anglicization. There is sort of debate whether it's like a erroneous, like a lot of anglicizations of names.
mm,
So where you would say uh, they were like
mm.
Tully, sometimes got anglicized to Waters.
Yeah.
They're they're wrong and they're right, if you know what I mean. They're not
Okay.
exact word for. So Tully, I think it means like it means something to do. The Tully is a crossing of the river or a ford of a river. And then people just went, well, that's water. I'll become waters. So I think Oceanach is something very similar. It's also an anglicisation of the surname Kearney as well. So which is has multiple origin points in Ireland. So you know, and then there's Wolf. Patrick Wolf actually referenced two branches of foxes from the one from the Cork Illyria, which would be around the area of the O'Driscolls in Cork, and another is a Sligo family, but I'm not fully aware of their wider history. That's another thing people have to remember, is that we have like the works of Patrick Wolf and others who have noted where families were, but they didn't always know or note who they descended from, like the wider kin groups they claimed to descend from. Sometimes you can have a name and a location, and that is it, nothing else. And it's also an English name. Fox is also an English name, so you could be from an English settler as well. So
yeah, very true. And just a question there for Owen there. I'll pop back over to Owen there and give Mihal a bit of breathing space after going through all those claims. Guys, make sure as well, if you've got a surname, chuck it out there, and we will, myself, Owen, and Mihal will slowly but surely go through it. I'll give Mihal a bit of breathing space there. Does Fitz really mean legitimate son of? Owen, what's the answer to this one?
Yes and no. It means
Really?
son of. It means son of. It's probably a corruption of. If you know French, I think the French for son is, I think it's Fils, which comes from Latin. So Fitz means son of. It was used in some cases for illegitimate children, illegitimate sons, but not always. I think in the case of the Fitzgeralds, I don't think the Gerald they came from was illegitimate.
Sorry there, Owen, just give us a second there. Is your live stream over on TikTok okay? Mihal, I think it went down there for a second. Sorry about that, Owen. Do you want to just quickly check on that one, Mihal, and see if your tickety talk is okay? Because it seems to have gone down on my side. Sorry about that.
It's gone offline, but I don't know how to bring it back up. Hang on, let me try and see if I just TikTok. Me and TikTok have a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, it's very, very funny. Sorry about that, guys, and sorry about everybody who was on TikTok. Obviously, they can't hear me now. I'd be like, come over to YouTube. It's easier over there. I think YouTube and weirdly Twitch. For some reason, Twitch is so easy to work with as well. Although I don't really get too many viewers over from Twitch. Twitch is super easy to work with as well. So YouTube and Twitch definitely would advise to work with. Instagram could be a bit funny, all right. And Facebook, Rachel can get it up and working, no problems. Myself, on the other hand, I seem to have problems with Facebook as well. But Facebook is good once you can get it up and going. But mostly YouTube. YouTube is the one I've mostly been using these days. I'll have a quick gawk to see if that's connected on this side. So I do apologize for anybody. But yeah, that seems to be, for some reason, severed on the old Tickety Talk side. Tickety Talk, very cranky for some reason. I don't know what the problem is there. Sorry about that, Owen. You don't mind elaborating still further on that?
No problem. So Fitz, it means son of. It's a normalization of Old French fil, Fils, which I think comes from filius, which I think is a Latin. It was used in some cases for illegitimate, but not always.
Yeah.
Like and as Mihal has pointed out before, in Ireland there are some groups, some clans took the name Fitz to make themselves appear Old English. Like McGillic Porrick became Fitzpatrick. Um,
Mm-mm.
so and like sort of we have Fitzgerald, Fitzpatrick. There are several other Fitzes here. Some of the Geraldines, some
Mm.
of the because I think one of the first earls or Baron Desmond had lots of illegitimate children. Some and many of them
Mm.
became the famous, like the Knight of Kerry and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always mean illegitimate. I know in England, I think at some stage, sons of the king, the name Fitzroy obviously means
Mm.
son of Roy, which is Rex King.
Yeah.
So I think some illegitimate sons of some of the kings would got that surname, but
Yeah.
it's not just for illegitimate.
Mm-mm-mm. Fascinating stuff.
Yeah, I think it's the fact that it's mostly associated with the Fitzroys. That now Fitzroy, I believe, started with the Stuarts, primarily with the Stuart dynasties. I might have been a little bit early, but I'm pretty sure before that, most of the royal illegitimate children were taking the titles that they were given as a surname rather than Fitzroy. But definitely during the Stuarts, they were quite prolific for having illegitimate children. So you had a lot of Fitzroys, and I think due to the fact that they are the famous Fitzes, in British and Irish history, you would. It's easy to sort of merge the myth there to think that it means just illegitimate because, well, look at these illegitimate children. But yeah, like Owen's already said, to touch on it just means son of, so it can be applied
Yeah.
both ways, really.
Happy days.
And then I think there is a famous American fantasy science fiction novelist, Robin Hobb. I think her first name is Robin. And she's written a series, The Realm of the Elderlings. Her main character was called Fitz, and he was given that name because he was an illegitimate offspring of some king. So the sort of sometimes someone writes a book, they take a bit of history and they turn it around, and then they can recreate history. So it as happened with another book, the Mist of Avalon, where the author wrote that druids had snake tattoos, and that has passed into common knowledge. It's completely wrong, but many people around St. Patrick's Day that comes up a lot.
And I'll give Mihal a bit of breathing space unless he wants to pick out the name now. To do it. Do you want to do one now?
Well, I just want to make sure I don't go too far past, like, because sometimes we end up having to scroll back to find the name. So just when they start disappearing from my screen, then I'll know to just. I seen there one. It was Hamrock is an English name. So I don't know, I've got my screen here of you guys and then my camera here. So Hamrock's an English name. I'm not aware of any now. That obviously we've stated here that some families would adopt English names or Scottish names through different processes that would anglicize it. I am not aware of any names that become Hamrock from an Irish surname. Now, my two main sources are mainly that I've studied extensively on MacLyson's work and Reverend Patrick Wolfe. So there may be others out there, but of the 4,000 surnames I've studied, I'm not aware of it. So it seems unlikely to be an Irish surname. So if it's an English surname, there's a multitude of ways it came to Ireland over various centuries. So it'd be very hard to sort of pinpoint. Parish records by Grenaham. He has a website that sort of goes through parish records and stuff. I'd recommend looking at that and going back. And he pinpoints where names are registered in early censuses. So you might be able to sort of pinpoint from there. But yeah, it's definitely an English surname.
Fair enough. I'll give you a bit of breathing space there. Owen, is there any questions there in particular? Because you seem to be hungry for more questions and surnames and stuff to cover. Anyone in particular you want to go for there, Owen?
Well, I see. Just Kira asked that one about Hamrock, and just below it from Northern Menace, there's a question: can Irish surnames start with LE or LA?
Mm.
I looking at that, I am presuming that those are French. Like most names, they could. Offline, I can't think of any. Lachlan, no, sort of
Got
McLaughlin.
Lehay.
Yeah, but to me,
I've come
it
across
looks like
Lehay and stuff.
Lamass, which the former Taoiseach. But
Yeah.
I think that's a French name. I think most names that
Yeah,
begin
yeah.
with Le or La are from France
Yeah, I agree with you.
or possibly
It's
Spanish.
yeah. Oh, really? I didn't realize there was a Spanish link in there as well.
No, it could be like sometimes there is that in Spanish.
And you said you wanted to cover the Hamlet one as well, was it?
No,
No,
no, no.
it's
I
just
was just
saying
saying
it's
that this
below it.
question was just below it.
Oh, yeah. And
There's one about is salmon is that a surname? I'm not sure. Is Slamon really Viking? Is it a mutation of salmon? I
I've never
don't.
come across that.
Yeah, I don't
I
understand.
don't see the question. Hang on, let me see if whereabouts is it?
Yeah, I can't find it either. Oh yeah, here I actually found it. Thanks. A hard one. Is salmon really Viking, or is it mentioned of salmon? Yeah, that's interesting. All right, I haven't come across that one either. Campfire.
I mean, what is he asking? Is that the surname Slammin, or is it a Viking? I'll just preface it by saying that theoretically or technically, there's no such thing as a Viking surname. But and we've got to be careful when we see names that maybe we perceive to be descended from paternally from Norse settlers. That if you want to encompass that into just a general thing of saying a Viking surname, a lot of the names that just because they have a Norse word in it, like Amlav or Ragnall, so that would be the McReynolds today, or the McOlofs or the McAuliffe, sorry, that doesn't mean that they are of Viking descent or Norse descent. It became quite popular due to the multiple interactions with the Norse settlers, the adoptions, the marriage alliances, the trading, and the just all around military and political alliances that and fostering of children, that families would incorporate Norse names into their genealogies, by giving it to their children, so they would be adopted by the dynasties. The O'Donovans are a really good example of this, who I just did a short on yesterday. So there's the traditional narrative is that they married into either had a political marriage with Ivor of Limerick, and from that that's the reason they had. You see several generations afterwards Norse names in their dynasty family tree. Now, obviously, the marriage reference to the marriage isn't referenced till the 12th century, so we don't have any contemporary evidence of this. But we know intermarriage happened, so it's hardly unlikely. But it almost became a bit fashionable for a little while for families to start having these Norse names in their naming their children Norse names for a multitude of reasons. Which is why if you see a surname that is derived from a Nordic a Scandinavian word, it does not mean that they are of Scandinavian descent, at least paternally. But on the same sense, there is a possibility as well, such as the McCotters. The McCotters have a link to Cotter of Dublin, I believe, or Otter of Dublin, sorry. And that is, sort of attested in their family genealogies and oral histories, traditions. Again, none of it really contemporary, so you've got to be careful, because there really is a sort of period where these Norse settlers are settling where surnames do not exist, and by time surnames are being adopted by these people, they're now technically Gall Gaels. They're now fully integrated into our society, multiple generations of intermarriage. So are they, Norse, Scandinavian, or Viking by this stage? Well, that's a debate that Philip will probably want to be better at diving into. But it's just a thing to just be careful, wary of when you start saying, "Oh, I'm of Viking descent because my name is McAuliffe." Most likely.
Yeah, it's like if you're meaning when you're saying Viking, if you're meaning am I of Scandinavian descent, yeah, that can be quite funny, all right. But I suppose like it depends what the definition of what is a Viking, and I know this causes a whole load of problems, and it's I think last summer I was arguing and fighting with Scandinavian academics because, Scandinavian academics feel they are the ones that own the word Viking and that they alone can define what the word Viking is. The problem is that Viking is such an umbrella term now that you can put a lot of things under it. And the word Gall Gael is a word that pops up and seems to be chucked in under the umbrella term Viking. But it's funny because although we apply the word Gall Gael to the umbrella, which is Viking, a group of war band that's going around that's, of Scandinavian descent and stuff. The reality is that if we directly translate the word Gall Gael, it just means foreign Irish. And on top of that as well, there's recent Irish academics that do argue, are the Gall Gael even Scandinavian even to start with? And as Miala has said there, when you're looking at the DNA structure of a lot of these lads who have these Scandinavian surnames and stuff during the 9th and 10th and even 11th century, some of these guys aren't even Scandinavian, so it is very, very interesting that we are umbrella terming everything under Viking, assuming that it's a Scandinavian umbrella term. But then it's like, okay, so what does this umbrella term really mean? Is these war bands pirate war bands? Are we putting this under the umbrella term? Are we putting it under the umbrella term for every war band that kicks around in the 9th, 10th, and 11th century? Yeah, it's a lot of arguments and debates for sure.
I'd just like to put in that, Kat, you're cheating with your hands up saying Scandinavian descent here because your family really is from Scandinavia.
Yeah.
Stop cheating.
Don't help at all. Owen, you seem to want to expand on that. I'll give Mihal
No, I was actually
space there
going to move on to because I think Mihal has said everything about that.
No problem.
There's a question from Feral75, and it's going to cause a fight.
Yes, good for the algorithm.
Would be interested to hear each of your favorite dynasty and and least favorite dynasty of the last 1,000 years and reasons for each.
Oh.
Favorite dynasty. I'm gonna have to think about that one because I go through mood swings. I do. Go on, Mihan. You seem to want to run straight into that one.
My favorite is I suppose my favorite groups is the Ephili from Offaly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, only because the O'Connor branch that comes out of them, the O'Connor Feelies, they kind of tie in quite well with the O'Byrnes. I quite like that area of the world during the sort of 14th, after the Gaelic revival, so the 14th, 15th, 16th century, because they are completely surrounded on all sides by the English, and there's such stubborn groups within it that it's quite an interesting read to see them actually fighting against English being, because they're in the Pale effectively, or attached to the Pale. Like the O'Byrnes are completely surrounded in the Pale, and the Offaly's just off the edge of it, but it's got Butlers, the Fitzgeralds so close, and yet they're still stubbornly, resistant to a lot of the changes that would happen. My favorite, uh, maybe a little bit earlier, is the McLaughlins of Ulster. I consider them the true kings of Ulster, not the O'Neills. But obviously, I have to accept the O'Neills because they won out in the end. So, and then I like the O'Neills later on in the 16th century with Hugh O'Neill, 17th century. So, and maybe my earliest king group, probably from like the 7th to the 9th, 10th century, is the Dalfiatach from Ulster as well. So that'd be the McDunleavys and stuff. So there would be my sort of, but I do have soft spots for like the O'Sullivans, the March of the O'Sullivans, the Sullivan Bearers March from Kerry up to the O'Rourke territories. Is quite a sad story, and it's quite a good story to read into. So I have a bit of a soft spot for the O'Sullivans. But apart from that, most Munster families, as far as I'm concerned, can ship off to Spain and and leave Ireland to us Ulstermen.
And what about your least favorite? Your least favorite?
My least favorite.
That's part of the question.
Oh, my least favorite family are the Carews.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because later on they became, in my
Horrible.
opinion, horrible. Yeah. But I mean, they have such a small footprint in Ireland very early on. They're still there, but they're not major players. If I was to go for major players who I dislike, we're gonna go for Butlers. Even though I've done a video on
Butlers. Rue's not going to be happy about this.
I know. There's some really good septs of the Butlers. I do love some of the septs of the Butlers, but the main branch, the main Butlers, yeah, I have to say I'm more, if out of the two Fitzgerald and Butler dynasty rivalry, I was rooting for the Fitzgeralds.
Nasty. Owen, same question to yourself there. What's your favorite and least favorite?
Okay, favorites, I have several. But I would go for, if I had to choose one, I'd choose the O'Neills of Dungannon.
That's interesting.
Because of Hugh O'Neill, but also because basically from 1200 and a bit to 1600, they are the most powerful Gaelic family, and they managed to survive and thrive through various sorts, through lots of all the changes going on. And they kind of held together Gaelic Ireland at various times. Like there's various other small ones. Like I like the O'Doolings because I have a family link. My mother's mother is, she was using the name Dowling. My great uncle, who before the First World War he did research when you still could, and he was a Dowling, but they got moved down. There was a private transplantation in the 1620s when 7 or so groups from Laois, Offaly, got moved down to North Kerry, and the O'Doolings were one of them. So I have a tie into them. My least favorite is going to be very controversial. It's the O'Briens, especially the O'Briens.
I knew you were. Yeah.
From the 16th century. From the 16th century onwards, essentially because they became very anglicized. They took, they fought with Elizabeth, they fought with Cromwell, and on the parliamentarian side, they fought with all the wrong people, basically.
This is good for me because I come from the medieval side of things.
And they're still around, the Inchiquins, and they have this thing that annoys me, like claiming that they're Irish and they should be kings of Ireland in good English accents. Uh, so if Thomond had taken a different attitude in the 9 Years' War, he could have made a big difference. Instead, he helped destroy Gaelic Ireland, as did the O'Brien's lords in the 1640s and 1650s.
Interesting. You see, I can get away with it because I keep more or less around the old medieval period. But I would definitely say one of my favorite Tuish or clans or whatever for the time being right now is definitely Clan Coleman. I'm actually really into Clan Coleman right now because I'm doing a lot of Viking reading and stuff, and I'm a huge fan of the 10th and 11th century as well. When you see Clan Coleman of the Enail Confederation, if you want to call them that, during the period of the 9th, 10th, and the 11th century. So I definitely would support Clan Coleman, especially when it produces such amazing kings, such as the likes of, Flann Shenna, Donnacha Dunn, Mael Shocknall. So I definitely would say my top favorite in there would be definitely the High Kings of Ireland between the 9th, 10th, and 11th century, which is Clan Coleman. So I definitely would support them as my number one right now, especially during the early medieval period. During the High Middle Ages, between, around 1014 up to around the start of the Scottish War of Independence, the 1300s and stuff, I definitely would say the O'Neills would be one of my favorite. Although there's just every single time during the High Middle Ages, they try to get the engine started. It's always they go for the kingship, for the likes of Brian O'Neill and stuff. They're going to go for the High Kingship. And myself and Michal have bitched about this 1,000 times. It's always branches of the O'Neills that cripple the O'Neill dynasty, not outsiders. And this is so frustrating, especially when we're looking at the likes of the Tamad Wars and the Brian O'Neill's revolt. The O'Neills could just rush the rest of Ireland. They have the numbers to do it. They have the support from the other Gaelic to it. And yet, it is their own branches of their own king group that undermine them every single time, and even at times just assassinate them and just completely knock them out of it. And still, even going into the late medieval period, rival O'Neills, undermining the O'Neill dynasty is what frustrates everybody so much. Every single time the O'Neills start to get the plane up and going and they're about to take off, you have people turn around and frustratingly grinding their teeth, asking, like, why can't the clans unite? Because the O'Neills undermine themselves every single time. And that this is why when going into the late medieval period, one of my favorite dynasties would definitely be the Fitzgeralds. I think the Fitzgeralds are really awesome to study, especially going into the Wars of the Roses in Ireland, when they're fighting against the likes of the Butlers and stuff, and even at times going over to England to fight the likes of the Plantagenets and the Tudors. You get this kind of romantic sense, especially going into the Battle of Stokefield, of an Irish invasion of England. So that excitement is there when it comes down to the Fitzgeralds. It's just a pity we didn't win the Battle of Stokefield, and then from there the Tudors are once again able to put a foot back into Ireland again and get fully involved with Irish politics. So those would definitely be my top favorite families and stuff. My least favorite, and I think you got a slight hint of it when I was bitching about the High Middle Ages, is actually the Kenal Owen. Believe it or not, the Kenal Owen, especially from a Munster interpretation. Especially when I'm studying the likes of Clan Coleman and then pushing for bringing together of all the clans, and even later on with Brian Boru. Jesus, could the clan cut? Was it like the Kenal Owen just do what they're told? They're just every time it's a solid. Ulster says no. Yeah. Ulster says no. Yeah,
never.
Just screaming from the top of
Brian Boru was a usurper.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah.
nobody.
It was a nobody peasant.
Owen, you're meant to be on Team Munster here. What are you doing, man? What are you doing?
I'm on Team O'Neill, Team
Let-
Kennel and Team McCarthy. We don't like these jumped up Dalry
Dalcash.
O'Brien Dalcast.
Yeah.
All the same to you. The dolls, just get the dolls. Subjugate them. Subjugate them. Where's my cattle
I mean,
tribute?
they were even that. Let's not forget they were always usurpers. They were Dacia. They end up going to Thomond from Dacia lands in Waterford, Wexford sort of area of the world. Waterford area,
Yeah.
sorry. So they're not even from Thomond. Like, so that everywhere they go, they just go, and take over. Just stay in your lane, boys, will you?
Oh, yeah, like I could literally just every single time without fail. Like even when Murtagh Breen then is Murtagh Breen gets recognized as King of Ireland by the Pope. He gets recognized as King of Ireland by Scotland by a gift of a camel. By the way, I remember it was Professor Damien Bracken who told me that one that he was gifted a camel, and I was like, a camel, Jesus Christ. So like, and on top of that, there at that point, the likes of Murtagh Breen had subjugated Munster, Leinster. He had subjugated Connacht, and he had subjugated Meath. All he had to do was nip in the bud the Kennel Owen, and guess what? Kennel Owen managed to convince the Ullid to revolt with them. Magnus Barefoot at the time had married into Murtagh Breen's dynasty and also had recognized him as King of Ireland as well. And Magnus was like, I'll just go up there and skirmish the Kennel Owen into submission. And he goes up there and the Ullid ambush him and kill him, and everything just bloody collapses. And this is just one of thousands of examples of the Kennel Owen just turn around and say, "No surrender, no surrender," just up there like Jesus.
But at the same time,
Go
like
on.
if you take Neil Glundov and his son
Yeah.
Murdoch of the Leather Cloaks,
Yeah.
they were doing something similar. They were uniting, trying to build a strong King of Tara, King of Ireland.
Mm.
And I think Neil
Yeah.
Glundov was quite successful at it, except he was unlucky in that the I think is it Clan Ivar, the Norse
Yeah.
in Dublin, they returned in force. And if you look at
Yeah.
the amount of kings killed in that battle, he had a very powerful force. And then his son Muirheartig starts rebuilding and has a lot of success against the Norse and against others, but then he's killed. And the Kennel Owen were the most successful against the Norse. And I know that some historians basically say the reason behind why Brian Boru was able to usurp and sort of become High King, was that the Kennel Owen defeated the Norse in Ulster, and so they didn't benefit from having a Norse city. Whereas Brian Boru did. He got soldiers and he got a lot of money and he got boats, so he was able to use the Shannon to attack everybody. So it all depends on your point of view.
Yeah, it does. And I happen to have the point of view that disagrees. What was it called? What was it? Mihal, do you want to pick any out there that you want to cover next surname-wise? Because we've been abusing the surnames for half an hour.
Just before Mihal starts, Caveman has been mentioning on a few things that he's about to launch his own website and YouTube channel covering Maguire history and stonemasonry workshop. So I wanted to give a shout out to him.
Yes.
I seen that earlier and I just want to refind. Oh yeah, I think this is it. There he is. Caveman, keep us up to date with that one so I can send up the links once you're up and going. And Caveman as well, if you've got the your own YouTube up and going as well, you're more than welcome to jump on to the panel with the rest of us if you want to. So just be aware of that as well, Caveman, if you're still on. Mihal, is there any family you want to
Yeah,
grab and start going through?
McGivergan sort of had said earlier, and I sort of I kept it. I haven't seen any chat beyond that because I've kept it highlighted. It's quite far down, but yeah, I just wanted to. He sort of had a question like McGivergan, and he says. It's interchangeable with McGivern. Yeah, it is interchangeable with McGivern. It's also interchangeable with McGurran as well. So you get McGivern, McGovern, McGiverkin. I'm not 100% on because of the way the name is interchangeable with quite a few branches, unrelated branches. It gets a bit confusing in the old brain of mine. But I know that one of the lines of McGiverkin are from the Kennel Ferrahy, who are a branch of the Kennel Owen, one of Philip's famous favourite branches there. So if you want to send hate mail to Philip after this, that's fine if you're related to that line. And they were famously associated with a townland of Clogher in County Tyrone. So that's the main branch that I'm aware of. But there could be other ones around there. But definitely the main association with the name is with the Kennel Ferrahy in County Tyrone. But and like I said, it's interchangeable with a few names. So I would probably have to do a bit of research into those names to deep dive into them. But I'll earmark it for sure in the future. And I can quickly fire off this one as well. Kennedy, Rich Kennedy said hello, and then he asked about Kennedy. Kennedy has Scottish and Irish origin roots from McKennatig. The Kennedys of Scotland are, although they have a Gaelic or originally a Gaelic surname, I know recent DNA is sort of pinpointing that they may be from an early Brythonic king group. So they've been in that area for a long time. Is it? It's in. I think it's in Galloway. Kirk. I'm not going to butcher it. It's in Scotland anyway. But you have two branches that are sort of attested in Irish records, which are probably the more famous Kennedys, who are from Upper Ormond, and they are descended from the Dalcash, so they're related to the O'Briens, or at least they claim to be, and had quite a good history with the Butlers in their early history. So if you're related to them, it's a good read. But there's also a smaller branch in Fermanagh as well, who are unrelated to either the Scottish or the Thomond or the Upper Ormond branch, but if you're a Kennedy from Fermanagh, it was also planted heavily by Kennedys from Scotland, so it can make records very hard to distinguish between the two. So some people use religion as a good way to sort of divide, but it's not an exact science, because families did change religions for multiple reasons. So just be careful of that one.
Yeah, for sure. And Owen, you look like you want to tear through something there. Is there a particular question you want to go through there as well?
There's one, but I don't understand what it means. It's from Northern Menace. Sorry in advance if this is a stupid question. Are there any Pugsley Irish families? And I have no idea what that means. What's a Pugsley?
Pugsley. Not sure either. I don't know the Pugsleys whatsoever, to be honest with you.
Where?
Oh yeah, there we go.
It's. I don't know what Pugsley means. Is it a surname?
I'm assuming it's a surname he's talking about there. You don't know the surname Pugsley, Mihal, do you?
I've never come across it. It could be a corruption. That's another problem we have with surnames as well, is that how they've been phonetically changed when you've migrated from, they've been changed from Irish to English and then maybe rechanged again when you've become part of the diaspora in American records. I am not aware of any Irish branch becoming Pugsy, and 9 times out of 10, if I'm not aware of the Irish branch, it's probably because it's not from a traditionally native Irish family, so they could be from the plantations, or multiple migrations into Ireland. So they may exist in Ireland, they just might exist outside my sort of area. Where I only really study up to about the plantations. So when you start seeing families coming in, unless they have an Irish connection, or they have a similar surname like the Kennedys we just mentioned, they don't really end up in my sphere per se. And I'm not aware of any large landed hold families or title bearing families of Pugsley. So I would hazard a guess. We'll just say a guesstimation, an educated guess, that they probably came across from mainland Britain.
Happy days. Just give us a second there, because I'm just quickly editing this one. Owen, is there any particular question you want to cover there? And I'll just quickly do some editing on one of these links for the live stream.
I'm not seeing that much, to be honest. Someone's asking about Bono Hewson.
Paul
Hewson. Yeah. But I don't know. I presume that's an English name. It could be Huguenot originally. I don't know. I think Bono was Protestant. His family.
Right.
And I think they all were, or because I know that the Edge was English, was born in England. So, but the name Houston is not a common one. But I think it's English.
Yeah. Right.
Kat is asking about Keane. Keane is probably, at least in an Irish context, it's O'Conn. It's a misspelling of O'Conn from Derry, which was quite famous. So there may be an English version.
Yeah.
Con or Cahan or Keen or Kane, there are multiple unrelated families for that. There is Keen, a Munster, more commonly spelled Keane, and then you have obviously the Kanes in Kane in Ulster. They all derive from the same eponym. But they're not all related. I do have a short on this. The most famous branch is the O'Conn or O'Cahans of the Cianocta, who they're from the Cianocta. They're from Derry. I was about to mix them up with the O'Hagans for a second. So the Cianocta were a tribal group around the areas of Derry, and before they were sort of mostly displaced by the Kinaloan. I've got that wrong. They displaced the O'Cahans or O'Keans are from the Kinaloan, who displaced the O'Connor Cianocters from Derry. So so they're a Kinaloan group who took over a Cianocta tribal lands. There's multiple. I think there's at least 7 or 8 unrelated.
Thank you so much for that donation as well. Any questions or any surnames you guys want us to cover? Definitely. And I think that I'm not sure who got that donation, but thank you so much. Actually, that's for you, Michal. That donation is. So thank you so much for all those donations, and definitely keep it going.
Thank you.
Those donations are so much for us, especially Michal, because Michal recently, a lot of Michal's information got deleted on his. You had it on your phone, wasn't it?
Yeah, I lost 2 years worth of research on my phone. That's very traumatic.
Yeah, so those that donation to himself is worth so much, especially for buying books and all that kind of stuff for himself, and help him get back onto his feet again. Owen,
I think we should call Michael Caine Michal O'Conn.
Yes. Well, I mean, there is a Scots, Ulster Scots families with that name too. So if he's
Yeah.
from those families, again, another family that settled in very similar areas, his ancestors may not take too much of a liking to that, or his kinsmen in Antrim and
Once
Derry.
again,
But
thank you so much for those donations coming in here, especially towards Mihal. Definitely donate to the Mihal Association. And I
the
can't highlight that
charity.
enough. Mihal recently lost all of his research. He has to bloody build himself back up again. Same with myself. Bloody hell. What was it? Mihal went off and bought a whole load of books for me, actually, using the money that we had been saving. Because we got the books that we were buying with Amazon. That was from the hoodies and stuff as well, wasn't it? Because
Yeah,
we
we
sell.
used all the money from the from our merchandise shop, which we
Yeah,
have. You want to click that to buy the books. Yeah, now you can't
uh,
get access to them.
yeah. What happened is I got regionally blocked, so we were raising money for books to do this research for you guys today, and that's what Mihal is quoting from and stuff is all the books that we were buying through Amazon. And we were getting on Kindle because I'm living over in Japan now because, as you know yourself, the housing crisis and stuff. And that was grand. We were doing perfect for about 5 years or so. And then suddenly, last week, Amazon just regionally blocked me. And I got onto Amazon and I said to them, what's the story here? Why am I blocked? And they proudly, big chucky face on them and all, proudly turned around and says, "Yes, we have regional block on to prevent piracy and all this kind of stuff." And I says, "What do you mean piracy? Myself and Mihal went off and paid for it fair and square. I can't see what the problem is." And they were just proudly saying, "No, no, that's a UK license. That is
Mhm.
considered stealing." And I was like, that makes absolutely no sense. So you're telling me the only way I can legitimately buy an item legally is to buy the physical copy. That if I buy a digital copy in the United Kingdom is considered stealing if I go outside of it. That's basically what you were saying. And they were saying, we're proud. Yes, that is considered piracy and stealing if you were to buy a digital product and then go outside of the region. And I was like, Jesus, they are cheeky the way they come up with these rules these days.
Mhm.
Regardless, is there any Owen? You look like you're hungry for more
Yeah.
questions.
Someone, campfire speaker is asking about the origin of Irish travelers, the Irish traveling
Mm,
community. Um, so on to probably 50 or 60 years ago, the myth was they were descendants of Irish who lost their land to the Cromwellians.
mm,
However, I think that that is old news now.
mm,
Because I remember when I was in university meeting some traveler groups, and they said the research they had done showed that their ancestry goes back much further,
yeah,
um, goes back to medieval period.
yeah,
Um,
which makes sense.
sorry, and they have their own language.
Mm,
I've never seen it written down. I don't think they write it down. I don't know. It's probably somehow or other related to Irish, but I don't know. But they are
I think it
groups of
is too.
Irish people who have been fulfilling that, like the role where they would fix metal stuff, but also horse fairs and buying and
Yeah,
selling horses. Because like the travelers, if you go around most of the horse fairs in Ireland and the big fairs, you will find there was a big traveler input, such as Puck Fair. There
mm,
used to be a huge horse fair in Castlebar. I think it's Castlebar. It was in Mayo, and those were all kind of started and run by travelers.
yeah,
Sort of they had this function or position in society. They would move
mm,
around selling, etc. So, but they are much they go back a long time in Irish history, and like
yeah,
most of the surnames are usual, like McDonough, Ward.
mm.
You'll find that you'll pick up any Irish history book, you'll find their surnames there.
Yeah, it's crazy how much history the traveler community have. A lot of words. It's crazy. It's very very funny because there's a lot of words today that are considered mockery and slang at them. For example, the word knacker, which is considered, you're not allowed to say that in Ireland. Like if you were to turn around to a traveller and call them a knacker, it's considered, really negative, really slang. However, it's actually a medieval word. You actually see knacker appear in Europe as well, and it's applied to somebody who cleared the roads. So you would hire a knacker if there was an area where the roads were manky and the roads were dirty and stuff. You would hire a knacker to come around with his wagon and to clear the roads, and they got very much what was it called, associated with killing animals as well. So as the knacker was going by, he'd get his shovel and he'd pick up a lot of dead animals or sometimes even dead people, depending on the situation and stuff. And they would chuck them into the back
It's
of the
still
wagon.
used.
Sorry, that wrong?
It's still using Kerry for that job. Like I heard someone uh, last year say, "Oh, there's the knacker," and I was about to
Yeah,
give out to him, and he said, "No,
yeah,
no, it's the guy." The guy he's come up to, that guy must have lost because we were up high looking down on the farm.
mm,
He said he must have a dead animal.
yeah,
And I said, "Oh, why? He knew the van, he knew the person. So
mm,
like the guy is a knacker, which means like a horse killer, or
yeah,
he's his. If you have a farm in Ireland and your animal dies,
mm,
um, someone has to come and pick up. You can't just bury it yourself
yeah,
anymore.
yeah,
They keep control, and at least in Kerry they still use that word for it. But
yeah,
I
yeah.
know that out uh, it's now regarded as a slur. It's a word I
Yes, it
wouldn't
is,
use. I
which
don't like
is
using it.
yeah, and that was all recent years, but because we've now kind of disconnected ourselves now from our kind of medieval origins and stuff. But yeah, a knacker used to be a man. He used to be the man that used to come by the wagon, and as he comes by your home and stuff, you'd go, "Oh, come in, knacker, 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 come in." And it wasn't considered as a slang thing. You start screaming at him, "Come in," and he'd come rushing in. And he'd come in, making sure to come in with what was it called, a mallet and what was it, a nail or something, because he knew he was being brought into the home to actually I suppose bring an end to something suffering. So an animal would be suffering and something, so they call over the knacker, and the knacker then will come over and snuff it out, and then he'd afterwards chuck it into the back of the wagon and he'd go off and bury it. That's what a knacker was. So knacker was a person that would be hired into an area to clear out the roads and stuff. And it's the same thing as you were saying there, Owen, as well. The word tinker. They were the traveling people that would go by the various settlements and stuff and selling, their metals and all that kind of stuff. Tin, tinker, tin. So they would go around selling their tins. There was loads of other terms and names for various jobs that were associated with people that would travel from community to community in Ireland, which is all now considered slang. I think maybe you can correct me on this one, Owen, but I think it was from like the 1800s onwards that travelers went from people that were really admired in the community to suddenly being like disgusted upon, spat upon, kind of even in at
I
times kind
think
of
I think it's I
forced
think
out of
it's much
society.
later.
Yeah.
I think it's much later.
Mm, mm, mm.
Because there is a poet songwriter, Sigerson Clifford from South Kerry.
Yeah.
Like if you know Irish folk music and Christy Moore, you'll have heard the song "Boys of Bornastrada," which is a really really popular song down here in South Kerry. They sing it loads. But
Mm,
he he wrote the Ballad of the Tinker's Son, and it's about a schoolmate of his who
mm.
was a traveler, the son of a traveler, and it's a long song talking about how this guy came into school one day, and he's introduced and they get on fine, even though he's not very academic, and he ends
Yeah.
up the songwriter ends up killing him in the Civil War.
Jesus. Yeah.
Um, I think I think it would really only be post Second World War or post
Mm,
1960s that this big division and this hor- very horrible treatment of travelers starts
yeah. Yeah. Oh,
because
yeah.
they lost their livelihood in a way, sort
Yeah.
of of going around knocking on people's doors. Okay, and they would at this stage they would be fixing things.
Yeah.
Sort of, can I fix your pots and pans?
Mm.
And Irish society became more urban,
Mm.
and then they got pushed out.
Yeah, yeah, and you see, then the problem is that a lot of people end up, they don't have any work, and so and I hate to be saying this, but you have only a few. By the way, I wouldn't say this is the case for everyone, because I'm really good friends with the likes of the O'Briens and the Hogans and stuff around the Munster region. So the likes of the Hogans and the O'Briens, the traveller communities, I got on absolutely brilliant with. So I wouldn't say the majority, because a lot of them will literally break their back to help you out and stuff. But there is a few, I would say about 4 out of every 20 of them or so, are just, they kind of take on the dark path. I don't know how to bloody word this properly, but they would get into crime because they need to pay the bills, basically. And so, they end up getting a bad reputation, and it kind of, paints the rest of the travelers as being, bad. Especially if they're getting involved with fights and they're robbing stuff and they're involved with crime because they need to pay the bills.
Well, I think
So
that's quite a common thing for the ostracized or the
yeah,
left
that's
aside
it.
communities, that they
Mm,
I think if you can look at any community who's sort of seen as lesser, whether that be certain Native American groups in America, or they're normally coming from disenfranchised groups,
mm,
and where does that normally end up leading to? Poor education, higher crime
mm.
rates, and that's just statistics. That's not me trying to again put
Oh yeah,
anyone down. Again, I have friends from the traveller community, mostly from the Wards family.
yeah.
But yeah, so it's the correlation's there, but it's not a reflection of the people. It's a reflection of the society that they are brought up beside, that decides to ostracize them or to treat them as another. So yeah, I think uh, it's about educating people to just sort of like look beyond that, and just say, just because they are from a certain group doesn't mean that the crimes that are often um, shown to be from that side of the community is not
Mm.
a it's not it doesn't mean that community is going to commit that crime because they're part of that. Great. So yeah, it's a shame that those sort of people have to deal with that. But I will just pull it back into a couple of surnames here before we end up either getting banned or end up having a traveler doing a video for us calling us out. No, I'm joking.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Go on there, Miha. Jump into the questions again.
So no, I've got some really easy ones here, so I can just fire them out. Colpoys is a rare Irish surname, I believe. Colpoys is rare because it didn't come across to Ireland till the 17th century. I believe they were minor landed gentry in County Clare.
Mm.
So that's why it's quite rare. It's quite a recent name into Ireland. As for your claim saying it may be Norman, probably, but as in like Norman in England, rather than
Mm.
forming from a Norman family over here. Who was above them? Someone's mentioned about the family Corwell. Corwell is another English name. I believe it's actually from the name Cornwall. For some reason, in a lot of medieval surnames or slightly later on, the N was dropped in the middle of some of the English surnames. So I would hazard a guess that's actually a variation of Cornwall, which means the individual is probably from Cornwall, but there's no
Mm.
Irish surname from that. And then quickly another one, Garvin from Mayo. Most Garvins claim descent from the southern Neil, and the Mayo branch certainly take that claim too. They say that they were part of the southern Neil in Meath, and then they were pushed out by Normans and were forced to flee to Sligo and Mayo. I believe MacLysaght, the surname historian, also sort of attributes the family to that too. So he certainly believed that claim. So it's possible. There are other variations of the name Garvin as well. Garvey as well as another unrelated family. I believe Maclysa actually did a sort of segment on the Garvin McGarvey question, but I'm going to have to reread it to get sort of up to date on that one. And the McCowells, I'm part of the Kenaloan McCowells or McCathamel. So the McCathamels are anglicised to McCowells and Campbells. They're another Kennel Ferry family from Clogher in County Tyrone. So yeah, it's often anglicised to Campbell, which again, it's heavily planted by families such as the Campbells. So figuring out if you're from a Scottish Campbell or an Irish Campbell can be a bit confusing. And I suppose genetics is the only way really to get the definitive answer. So and I think that's all I had off the top of my head for those ones. Just need to catch up with chat again. So pull me back out.
I'll just quickly answer this one as well. Not so much the surname itself. Maybe Owen can expand on the surname itself, because I do know that's what was it called, a Leinster surname. But when it comes down to the usage of marshals in the early medieval period, there is no marshals in the early medieval period because the early medieval period is a period of war bands. So you would raise a war band, and then you would have your warlord, and then you would have your various people under them. Remember that the majority of fighting and skirmishes were not 10,000 men against 10,000 men. So you don't start to see marshals starting to appear until going into the High Middle Ages, with the likes of the Crusades and then these bigger campaigns kicking off left, right, and center. So during the early medieval period, when you're dealing with Viking raids and you're dealing with warband on warband fighting, you're mostly just dealing with warlords, and then the various titles of king and who had the biggest sausage and that kind of stuff. So you would deal with the likes of over kings like Riroic, or just a basic Ri or Ifada, or Yall, or even other figures like that are more like, the man with the biggest sausage in the community, rather than when we go into the High Middle Ages, when we're dealing with more organized warfare. So that's definitely something to take note of. The dynasty itself, from my knowledge, is more of a Leinster dynasty. So did they take part? I think they would have been on the opposing side of Brian Brew, if I'm not mistaken about that one, lads. That particular family he's talking about there. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. I think Bertie would be somebody who definitely know the answer to that one.
But no, I mean Corcoran again. Corcoran has multiple origin points again. So now I will say that the one family who's mostly attributed with being a sort of martial family of the O'Briens is actually the McNamara's. They're again, these are later traditions though. Okay. And these are sort of normally what you would read, a historian from say like the 19th century has read into a specific role that maybe an individual has partaken in, and then has kind of carried that on as a sort of hereditary title in the same way that the English would have, like marshal, like a hereditary marshal for the royal family or whatever. So a lot of these like hereditary job titles that are militaristic are either mistranslations or anglicizations of an Irish role that don't really fit what was actually happening on the ground. Like you said, they're Jarls, Lords, Ri, these are all taking on the militaristic roles. And certainly there is arguments that some families would take more prominent positions on the battlefield. And certainly that's one of the things of McNamara's. I believe there's a feud that goes on between some families early on, including the McNamara's, about a position that they are put in a battle. Again, though, a lot of this comes normally a couple of centuries afterwards, and they're written in in the 12th century sagas, Irish annals and stuff. So these are again later iterations of probably an over sort of glamorized and romanticized. But yeah, the Cocorans, there's a Fermanagh branch, there's a Offaly branch, who are part of the Ailio Carols. There's definitely an association with Leinster, but I'm not so sure up on that one. But yeah, Fermanagh, Sligo Mayo maybe related to them. But yeah, it's definitely big in Offaly and Fermanagh. Now, Fermanagh families did fight in the Battle of Clontarf on Brian's side, maybe one of these ones. As for the Ailio Carols, yeah, the Offaly would sort of fall within that area too, possibly. I mean, Leinster Kingdom did take up quite a large area, that sort of. So I'm not really 100%. But yeah, and the Cocorans in Fermanagh did have a hereditary title. They were earners. They were part of the ecclesiastical hereditary circles rather than the military ones.
Fascinating stuff. Owen, you look like you're ready to just get it in there.
Just in relation to marshal, it's funny. I think it's probably originally a Latin word. The English were big with their marshals, like William Marshall. The Bagnalls were the marshals of the English army in the 1590s. The Gaelic lords adopted the title, but it seemed to have been a much less important position for them. Like, it wasn't a general. Like, nowadays you say Field Marshal, Field Marshal Montgomery, or in the Soviet Union, the Battle of Stalingrad, Marshal Zhukov and people like that. Whereas in the 1590s and under Shane O'Neill, the O'Donnellys were traditionally the marshals for the Dungannon O'Neills, except in the 9 Years' War, Hugh O'Neill didn't get on well with the O'Donnellys because the O'Donnellys were associated with Shane O'Neill. But basically, they were the marshals, but it seemed to be more to kind of take lists, more bureaucratic, sort of keep a list of who was in the army, as opposed to leading the army. It wasn't a military role. It was more of a bureaucratic role for Gaelic lords. I just noticed a couple of questions which I've lost. One was someone was asking about, it's from Davy Jones, surnames with only one letter, such as McGann, McCann, McMahon, where I think he's pointing, his question is about the MC spelling instead of MAC. Traditionally, MAC is Irish and MC is Scottish, but they both come from the Irish word Mac, which means son. It just they got changed into English in different ways. The Anglicization came in different ways, like MacDonald in Scotland, MacDonald in Ireland, or McCarthy. Also, you can spell it with MAC or MC. But if you put it into Irish, it's the same. It's Mac Cartick, the sons of Carty. And Creven.
Yeah. Just want to add one little thing. We've got to remember that the English language wasn't standardized till the 19th century.
Yeah.
So these spellings of Mac and Muck, that's why the confusion's there, because obviously it was just spelled. People were already not as literate back then as well. So you have same like Owen has said, one variation is more prominent in Scotland and the other variation is more prominent in Ireland. But just having that Muck or Mac does not denote your surname's origin, just because we have to be careful of, like I said, the English language wasn't standardized till the 19th century. So depending on the spelling by that stage, it depends on how your name is spelled. But carry on. I just wanted to add that little addendum.
Okay. Queven has asked another tough question. What is the most ghetto-tastic family in Ireland?
What?
Where's that question? That one? No, I don't see that one either. If I do say, I'll highlight it for sure. What's the most ghetto name? Is it?
Ghetto-tastic. Ghetto-tastic.
I need the definition, please.
I'm just saying there. What the hell does this mean? Is that? Do I want to
I'm
answer
going to
that one?
take it as meaning coolest.
All right, 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 right.
What's the coolest? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or so there's some lord who did some mad defiance against the English or something like that, or against another group.
Bodkin would be a good one. Bodkin's a good one. So the Bodkins of Galway, who they claim to be a sept of the Fitzgeralds. There's no historical link to it, but that was their claim. And they are from the Buakeen, which basically the story is that this young Fitzgerald was in a duel with a Ridra, an Irish knight, and he killed this Irish knight with a spear or a buakin, and that's how they adopted the surname Bodkin, as a sort of as an homage to that duel. So that's an always. Obviously, a lot of these are embellished. But same with coat sigils, same with family mottos. But I think that's always an interesting one that for a ghetto-tastic surname.
For sure.
Family, not surname. I think another one would have been Tyrrell, because Captain Tyrrell he was from Westmeath. And in the 9 Years' War, he did a lot of very good stuff. Like he was quite famous. He fought a lot in Munster. He indirectly caused O'Sullivan Bear's march by he realized the war was over. So in the middle of the night, he said, "That's it, I'm going home," and he marched from Cork up to Westmeath and just stopped fighting. And he must have looked very angry because no one did anything to him or his men as they marched along. They just sort of. So then, I think I would put him down as the most ghetto-tastic.
Big angry head on him. Imagine that marching up and down the mountains. All right, like.
I've got one here because I know he's asked before earlier on, and I kind of forgot about it. He says, "Hi folks, long time watcher. Can you tell me about the Morgans? I've met a very Catholic Morgans from Mid Ulster, Dungannon direction, but also a very Anglican Presbyterian ones from Antrim, I presume West." Yeah, so Morgan actually, and hello to any Morgans. I have Morgan relations. Morgan has multiple origin points. Again, traditionally associated with like the Welsh, English immigration settlers. But it's also a variation of American and Muirgon, and there might be another variation in there too. So there's quite a few families that adopted the surname Morgan, and you were saying about Fermanagh. There's quite a lot in around like Monaghan. And so South Ulster is a traditional haunt of one of the families, one of the branches of Muirgon. And so being in Fermanagh, it would be very likely that sort of one of the families is sort of migrated into that sort of area. But yeah, it's there's also another branch that are associated with Teffia, which is in Westmeath, or Teffia, sorry. They but there is a lot Morgan. There's a lot of Irish families that sort of became Morgan, which is why you would have. But like I said before about religion doesn't. Again, it's a good marker, good starting point, but it doesn't denote families' origins. People did become Presbyterian when they were traditionally from a native Irish family, Catholic family, and same vice versa. And then we also have English settlers that were coming across during the Ulster plantation. Some of them were Catholic. but by that stage, very almost none. In fact, I'd actually confidently say no Scottish settlers during the plantation were Catholic, purely because Scotland was hadn't been a Catholic nation for quite a while at that stage. But England still had remnants, and it is recorded that English families, and some of them still survive today as Catholic families. It's multiple origin points for the Morgans, but that's why you would have the differentiation, because you would have native Irish groups and settler groups.
Fascinating stuff, all right. Like, thank God it covered more of the medieval side of things. Go on anyway.
Queven has clarified his question. He said, "I meant which surname is most likely to wear pants that don't fit and talk like a gangster."
Okay.
Oh, right. So what you're saying is, which family did the English think were the most Irish? just totally not within the norms with the way they dressed and the way they acted. I don't know.
I'll
The
go with
O'Neills?
Shane O'Neill. Shane O'Neill. Yeah, Shane O'Neill.
Shane O'Neill. Wore pants and didn't fit the talk gangster. I suppose the O'Connors are what was it called? Rachel found a load of evidence of the O'Connors having effigies and stuff. I think it was the O'Connors anyway, some Gaelic family in the 15th century, and they're depicted like Moses, and they have pants and all that stuff on. I think I have a picture. Actually, do I have a? Let me have a quick glance to see if I have a picture of it here. But if not, I would definitely have to go with the O'Connors. No, I don't have a picture. No, I don't.
Or the
So I go
O'Byrne.
with the O'Connors. Oh, they're Burnside.
The
O'Byrnes, because they were gangsters, good gangsters.
Oh yeah, they were.
They were stuck up in Wicklow, and they still managed to come down into Dublin, and even the gates of Dublin City. Like, there are records of them attacking the Bawn outside St. Patrick's Cathedral. Sort of.
What's the story with St. Patrick's Cathedral? Is that inside the walls or outside the walls? Because
outside.
Just after. Oh, right. So that's how because do you remember how just after the Wars of the Roses in Ireland, when the Fitzgeralds and the Butlers are fighting over the title of Lord Deputy of Ireland, and the Fitzgeralds managed to siege the Butlers, and the Butlers just go inside St. Patrick's Cathedral? I was like to myself, but sure, wouldn't they have to go over the walls of Dublin first? But as you're saying there, St. Patrick's Cathedral is outside the walls of Dublin. That's what happened there. So it was it. Go on.
The walls of Dublin are not very big.
Yeah.
Like near the castle, Dame Street near Dublin Castle is one gate, and kind of think of where Guinness's is on the other side.
Yeah.
James's gate, and then you have a couple park gates. You have a couple more gates about a couple of 100 yards from the Liffey. So it's a small area, the walled city. Quite a small area.
So I suppose Christ Church would be inside the walls, but not Patrick's Cathedral by the looks of it.
Yeah, funny. I think Christ Church was either inside or part of, in a way, but St. Patrick's was well outside. Stephen's Green was outside. Pierce Street is outside.
Yeah. It would cover the likes of Temple Bar and Dublin Castle and stuff, because I don't actually have the picture on me now, but it followed the old. Go on.
If you're in Dublin Castle, just before Dublin Castle, where and then where the Civic Hall is now, from there walking in the direction of Guinness, that's where it begins.
Yeah. What was I bloody going to bitch about? Oh yeah, I just want to bitch about the algorithm there, guys. Would you do us a huge favor there and give us no like? And if you're not already subscribed, definitely subscribe to myself, Mihal from Clans and Dynasties, and Owen as well. will you give us a like? I don't know what's going on with the old algorithm, but it's just not popping this morning. So definitely give us an old like and see if that bloody pops the thing. I don't know what the crack is. I could be something to do with the timing and stuff. I'm thinking about experimenting with the timing and probably do this in Irish morning time and nighttime for the Americans. Because Rachel was saying before as well that it's not a great time for the Americans to jump on because a lot of them are still at work right now, and the Irish are just going off to sleep now. So maybe that's the reason why it's not popping, is because everybody's away doing stuff right now. So what I might do is do another. I'm thinking to myself, there are little ideas are popping into my head. So we might do an Irish breakfast Q&A or something on a Sunday morning or something like on those lines. Don't know if you guys would be into that one, but to do something to see if we can get the algorithm popping, because at this time right now it's just not popping. I don't know what's wrong with us. So if you wouldn't
Mine
mind
was
doing us a
doing
huge favor, go on.
mine was doing very well until about 20 minutes ago, and then it just kind
Yeah,
of froze.
yeah, and the reason for that, Owen, to be honest with you, because I noticed that one that your one popped from the get go, but I think it's because a lot of your viewers are around that time. To be honest with you, Owen, but I think a lot of your viewers have gone off to bed. To be honest with you, so if you've gone off to bed,
Good night.
please come back up. Yeah, 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 yeah. Please don't do an Irish goodbye. Stay up for the rest of the night with us, will you? we need your money and donations for books.
uh,
Michal, is there anyone you want to pop off there?
yeah, just want to actually touch on someone that sort of said there. Were the O'Driscolls in Cork Pirates? Since we're talking about
Oh
gangsters
yeah.
and families, maybe maybe the Irish who are pirates are more gangster. Yeah, I mean there are some pretty good gangster family pirating families. You know, the O'Driscolls are famously associated with pirating,
Yeah.
mainly because of when they decided to stop pirating, because they're almost kind of late to
They're
the
still doing
game.
it today. Up around
Well,
the Cork. If you talk about the Cork O'Driscolls, they're still at it today. There was a recent. Actually, I won't go into it because I actually know the O'Driscolls very well. But yeah, I got. It's funny. I don't want to be too rude to you there, Miha, but it was funny
yeah.
because people keep asking me. So, technically speaking, when does the Viking Age end? And I'm like, well, to be honest with you, a lot of these families from around what was it, 820, once they take on a bit of piracy, they get themselves a hold of a long ship. That's them. They continue committing piracy raids all the way from the Age up to the late medieval period, during the Hundred Years' War and stuff, where they're going out to attack French and English ships. When the Tudors are coming in, the Tudors have to build a whole load of castles. Owen could easily expand on Elizabeth's castle down in was it Blackrock, around that area. Blackrock's castle was specifically built to try to take out pirate raids and stuff from the Gaelic and Anglo-Irish. The Anglo-Irish is just the branches of the Fitzgeralds that were committing piracy as well. So it wasn't just Gaelic committing piracy raids, but Anglo-Irish doing it as well, especially aiding their families over in the Brittany territories, because the Brittany was also committing piracy as well during the Hundred Years' War, going into the Wars of the Roses as well, and also as we go into the Tudor period and beyond. We go into the age of pirates. So I could tell you that whole piracy, the blur between the Viking Age into the piracy age, I don't think it really ends. I know Owen looks like he wants to expand on that one a wee bit. Any
I was
thoughts on
just
that
going to
one, Owen?
say, yeah, what is a pirate?
Yeah.
Um, and then if you think of Gaelic Ireland, most of them the guys who had boats, they would have
Mm,
been cousins of galleys,
yeah.
and they probably wouldn't have gone far out to sea.
Mm,
It would have been small scale stuff,
mm,
but um, in the 16th century, there is a revolution in seafaring, and
mm,
like you start getting the age of discoveries, uh, and then you start having new Irish pirates, um, Like in the 1620s, near where I live in Valencia Harbour, there was a big battle and some pirate got sunk. Port McGee, where you get the boat to the Skelligs, is
Mm,
the port of McGee. Captain McGee was a pirate. And basically, he was smuggler. Smuggling was the big thing. But in during the 1640s war,
mm,
Dunkirk, of all places, was renowned. The Catholic Confederacy, they gave letters of privateering or whatever they were called to various captains. So you had
mm,
sort of Catholic captains coming out in small frigate type ships out of Dunkirk and causing havoc
mm,
within the shipping. That was probably the golden age of Irish piracy.
mm,
Um, Throughout the 18th century, you had a lot of um, huge amount of smuggling,
mm.
especially in West Cork, Kerry, etc. And then if you're talking about like the golden time of pirates, I think one of the famous women pirates was it Anne Bonny
Yeah,
was
I
from
remember
Cork.
her. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's from Cork. It could have been Baltimore, but I could be wrong.
Mm, mm.
It kind of makes sense that like from those ports, people would be leaving. They'd be going to sea, or brought impressed into sea. So, yeah,
Yeah,
Awesome
I
stuff.
just wanted to just list off some of the families. So just so from anyone that's sort of like wondering any connection to, the guys have already touched on it. The Fitzgeralds and the Burkes. Now Norman families were also into sort of privateering and sort of sanctioning raids and stuff like that. So it depends on your sort of your uh, view on what is piracy. Certainly some of the families that are associate attributed with it and actually outright called pirates
Mm,
are the O'Flahertys are called pirates by people in Galway because they're attacking trade ships heading towards Galway. They're sort of blocking that fleet at times as well. They have a long maritime history fighting the Mackie Breens over the islands just off Galway, the Aran Islands, isn't it? Um,
mm,
the
yeah,
O'Malley's obviously have a a history of pirating, but they're not actually. It's more they're just a maritime family that get
mm,
associated with pirating because it was later sort of romanticized. It was more toll taking, a bit of privateering, at the behest of their sort of overlords. But they weren't an outright sort of pirate, like known as being on the fringes of um, English society, shall we say, operating in this smuggling and this. I'm not saying they didn't ever do it. Obviously, it's all contextual depending on the time and stuff. But the O'Dowds are another one that are quite renowned for being sort of raiders and pirates as well. So, and then some of the Gallowglass families, like the McSweeney's, with their constant moving to and fro from
yeah.
Scotland and stuff like that, would sometimes partake in a bit of acquiring of people's, loot.
Yeah, because there's going into the Hundred Years' War, there's tons of piracy that's committed during the Hundred Years' War, and as you were pointing out there, for a lot of these Gallo Glass families, like today we like to define everything, like, and we when we think of what was it called, Gallo Glass, we think of these, these perfect formations of men who were trained to use their spears and axes. We don't think of them as kind of war bands into Gaelic mercenary companies, which were very flexible. These would have been lads who not only would have been able to cattle raid and skirmish, but also getting involved with formation and battles, and then obviously then jumping onto boats and committing piracy. And for the Gallowglass, one of the biggest thorns in their side was actually Carrickfergus Castle. And there's actually a good few sieges and battles around Carrickfergus from the likes of the MacDonalds and the O'Neills trying to nullify Carrickfergus Castle because of the fact that Carrickfergus Castle was there to stop the movement of both trade and movement of men going from Scotland to Ireland, and try to prevent the O'Neills from getting involved with the Hundred Years' War up in Scotland, because of the fact that the Scottish were allied to the French, the likes of Joan of Arc, for example, fighting against the English. And of course, the men of Carrickfergus, the English men of Carrickfergus, didn't want the Gaelic Irish to be a part of the Hundred Years' War. And of course, the likes of the O'Neills eventually do nullify Carrickfergus. And from there, plenty of Gallowglass are able to move to and from the place. And it's interesting to note as well is that not only do we have Gallowglass who commit piracy to try to stop, because they're not thinking of piracy from the fact of I'm stealing this because I want more money. They're thinking from a military perspective of if I prevent my enemy from getting those resources, he will eventually surrender. And so committing piracy on Carrickfergus was one of the ways to do that, not only to siege around Carrickfergus, but to stop goods from Dublin getting up in or from the Isle of Man getting into Carrickfergus Castle as well. So you do have a lot of piracy being committed around Carrickfergus, the same way you've got a lot of piracy happening around Waterford and Dublin, from both the Gaelic and, believe it or not, from men of Brittany as well, who were allied to the likes of Desmond Fitzgerald to prevent the movement of goods going from England to Ireland to places like Waterford and Dublin as well. So piracy in the Hundred Years' War and even going into the Wars of the Roses in Ireland. Super, very, very, very interesting stuff for sure. Mihal, is there any particular family you want to smash out now, or you're grand for a while? Do you want me to continue
No,
answering?
I don't know if any families have been mentioned recently without going too far back and losing where we're at. I will just say Murphy's been brought up a few times. I will just sort of
The old
touch on that
Murphys,
one.
yeah, I see Murphy right there.
I've been mentioned a few times. There's a load of Murphys, and since we're touching on the piracy thing and we've touched on the Viking thing, a lot of online websites will put Murphy as a Viking surname because it means sea battler. But again, that's a very rough translation. And secondly, the Irish were, battling at sea long before the Vikings came about, as St. Patrick can attest. But there are multiple origin points. Again, it comes from it sort of shares its origins with the surname Murray, Murrah, McMurrah, Murphy. They're all interchangeable all through history, so you could be one of those three names and still descend from the Murica or Muraku sort of surname. There's sort of very famous. It's well attested in Leinster. It's probably the most prominent area. Most of those are descended from the McMurroghs, who are part of the. They're descended from Dermot McMurrough and his sort of king group. Then we have the Murphys of the Iphigenti, who are related to the likes of the O'Collins and the O'Donovans. Most of them moved to McCarthy Ray territories due to O'Brien and Norman sort of pressure. So they became and they're quite well attested as being quite loyal to the McCarthy race through history. And then obviously you have multiple other branches. But again, I have a little short on this. So if you want to know all the branches, go check it out.
Oh, yeah. Definitely head over to Mihal's channel and Clans and Dynasties if you want to expand on a lot of this stuff. You're going to be pumping out a whole load of shorts this week if you do get the time, because I know you're busy with your parents right now. But I do know that Mihal will definitely try to get those families smashed out. So definitely head over to Mihal on Clans and Dynasties on YouTube, TikTok, and are you over on Instagram as well, Mihal?
I will be this year. 2026 is the year. I do have a page.
You need to get over there. There's a whole load of banter right now over on Instagram. I absolutely love Instagram with the medieval community and everything. Owen, you look like you want to smash out a few more questions as well. Anything in particular you want to smash out there? No? Good?
Okay, are you there?
Uh, I was going to say, since my face appeared, Fanulo Muruku has mentioned the pale wall is still there at the hotel at Christchurch. That's not the pale wall. I think there are a couple of bits of the walls of Dublin underground. I think there's one tower they found when they were building something. The pale wall, the pale defenses would have been quite a bit away from Dublin. So basically, the pale is Louth, much of Meath, Dublin County, Kildare, parts of Wicklow and Wexford, and then in front of that you had the Kildare lordship and also Ormond. So, and if you look at it from a defensive point of view, Dublin City, as I said, the old city is not the strongest defended, but you have loads and loads of castles around it. Like if you start from Dalkey, there were several castles in Dalkey. Then there's one in Monkstown. There were some in Blackrock, in Booterstown, in Rathfarnham, in Dundrum, and those are the near ones in Carrick Mines. And then outside of that, Slane, Trim, and various other ones. So the Pale itself was never touching Dublin City. It was always a bit away from Dublin City.
Yeah. But the problem
If it,
is, we were kind of bitching about this before, Owen, is the fact that how a lot of these borders shift and change so quickly per
yeah,
season. And it's so funny because I don't know if you were reading this as well, Owen, but you got the likes of Trim Castle and everything, which just kind of end up being abandoned. You know, once the Gaelic or even the Anglo-Irish start to do their own thing, Jesus, the amount of these castles that just get open, just fully abandoned. Like Trim Castle, for example, is one of the greatest castles in Irish history. And not only is it abandoned when King John comes over to try to siege the likes of Hugh de Lacy and stuff, Hugh de Lacy Jr., I mean. But then when you go up to the Wars of the Roses in Ireland, you have these spectacular sieges in Kilkenny, you have brilliant sieges in Waterford. Trim, abandoned. Like, what? Yeah, Trim Castle is a funny one, and it's the same with a lot of these castles around the Pale as well. That at times you just find that they're just completely abandoned, and as you point out earlier as well, Owen, you've got the likes of the Burns and the O'Toole's and stuff that suddenly appear outside the walls of Patrick's Cathedral and stuff, and you're like, Jesus, how did they push all the way there? And you look into the research of the castle, and it's like, oh, it's abandoned and so, and it's like, oh Jesus, like what's going on there?
but
Like,
at the same time, like a castle like Trim
mm,
would have been really expensive to keep
yeah,
because it's
yeah,
huge.
yeah,
And like, think of the wall. Like you have the keep, and
mm,
then you have this huge wall around it.
yeah,
And if you don't have people guarding all of that, it's very easy to jump over.
yeah,
Whereas if you have a series of smaller castles, especially essentially fortified homes, if you know
mm,
of Dublin, you can
yeah,
go to Dalkey and look at the little ones there. The Phoenix Park,
mm,
uh, the old papal nuncio's residence, it got destroyed by dry rot, and they began to knock it down. And they said, "What the hell? There's a castle here. There's a tower house here." So there
mm,
was one there. Um,
yeah,
if you use the Irish Environment Viewer and look around Dublin, you'll find like Bagot Street. The Battle of Rathmines was actually fought on Bagot Street.
mm,
Um, there was a castle on Bagot Street that was important until 1650.
mm,
Um, so there were loads of little castles which
Yeah.
which if you're marching into Dublin, there's so many of them that you would need several cannon to take each one, but they would slow you down.
Mm.
That's why, for example, when Silken Thomas, he attacks Dublin, but
Mm.
like he doesn't besiege it properly.
Yeah.
So some of the big castles are kind of it's contradictory. A whole pile of little castles are sometimes harder to defeat
Mm.
than one or two big castles.
Yeah.
Like when Silken Thomas rebels, the English took Maynooth Castle, which was another big castle. They took it
Mm.
in a few days. They brought
Mm.
along gunpowder and blew it up. Whereas small castles slow you down much more, and then quite often the garrison can just slip out and run away.
Yeah, that's a massive problem as well. I can see that one. And 15th century Ireland, Jesus, they go wild building castles left, right, and center. Those small little
Yeah,
castles, for sure. And it works. It works so well, especially with the Irish terrain. The Irish terrain is so difficult to work with because of the mud and the water and that stuff. I think you can think of thousands of examples, Owen, of cannons being stuck in the mud, in the
yeah.
worst situations as well.
Because, like,
Mihal,
for
go on
example,
there.
the castle behind me, Carrigafoyle.
Mm, yeah.
The reason the English were able to besiege it quickly was because they sent ships and landed cannons
Mm,
from the ships.
yeah.
Whereas if you're in a castle inland, it's much
Mm,
harder to get the cannon there,
yeah. Oh, for sure.
especially if it's halfway up a mountain.
Mm, 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 mm. And who else is there? Mihal, is there any question in particular? Sorry, surname you want to smash out there? One last
Um,
one as well, lads, because we're starting to finish up there.
yeah,
So
oh,
any
yeah, yeah.
last
It's
surnames, chuck it in there now before we finish up.
well, I probably won't. We probably won't see it until
No,
because
no,
by
I'll
the
get the
time
whip.
that
Don't you worry. I'll get the whip out there, lads, and I'll whip
the
Mihal out for the last few ones.
I will just say, yeah, the Kevin said about the Fitzdermotts becoming extinct. They're another family that are from Rathdown.
Mm,
Yeah, I'm always a bit hesitant with this claim that they're extinct. I mean, I know the last heir to the Rathdown lordship died in early 1300s, 1310,
mm,
1308. But that doesn't mean that the collateral lines didn't, continue to exist. But I wouldn't know. Obviously, I suppose you'd have to go into actual records to see if it's been showing in any censuses and stuff like that. I am near sure it's found in Dublin later on,
yeah.
but uh, whether they're from the same line is to be determined. But yes, the male line of the lordship definitely died out.
Mm.
Innisfail Castle on the island, Sean Castle. Okay, Keith has just explained that. I thought I saw McManus, so I thought it was a surname question. Thank you very much, Finola, for the super chat. I really do appreciate that. Kinsella is a variation of the Eakin They were a tribal group from Leinster. I believe they held the High King or the kingship of Leinster, or claimed it at least. But yeah, it's an Anglicization of Eakin so it's mostly associated with Leinster. I'm not aware of any other branches that exist. And I'm trying to think, was Dermot McMurray part of the Eakin or part of the E Dunley?
Oh, you're tripping me over there. I wouldn't mind. I actually looked at those notes. What was it, a few months back? But I actually cannot remember, to be honest with you.
I
Because
know,
I
I
always,
know that it's they're both two sort of prominent Leinster tribal groups. So it's but I can't remember who ruled first. I can't remember who the I'm near sure the Eakin comes second after the And technically, I don't even think the Dunley are actually a Leinster family. They originally from um, across the Offaly direction.
Mm.
So yeah, that was that one. Kevin's just sort of talking about the okay. Yeah, they descend from Dermot McMurrough, son of Ian McMurrough Kinsella. Yeah, so there you go.
Oh, thank you so much for that one. Just 1 second there, I'll check to see. But thank you so much for that one. Maiden name is Kennedy. You don't mind covering Kennedy there, Mihal, as well.
Yeah, do Kennedy again. If you missed it earlier, there's sort of three known branches. One from Scotland, and then there's two from Ireland from the McKennetigs. I can't remember if the McKennetigs of Clare take it from Kennetig, who is Brian Bruce's father, or if they take it from an earlier ancestor. I know, obviously, Brian had 11 brothers, so the claim could still exist there. The Kennedys, the O'Kennedys, were rulers of Upper Ormond, which I believe is in Barney and Tipperary these days. But it's on the borders, it's on the banks of the Shannon. And was it Upper or Lower Ormond? Anyway, yeah. So yeah, they claim descent from the Dalcash related to the O'Briens, and then you have a smaller group who are from Fermanagh, who I'm not aware of which tribal group they associate with, but probably have some connection, whether it be genetic or vassals of the Maguires.
Right, we'll have to start finishing up there, lads. I'm so sorry there for any names and stuff we didn't get to cover this week, but we'll be back again next week as well. And I might organize something else as well for you guys, either next weekend or the weekend afterwards, to try to get all the morning people in this chat as well. So myself and Owen and Mihal will have an old chat amongst ourselves and see if we can get some. I'm thinking to myself a Sunday morning breakfast live stream or something like that for you guys, probably like 10 a.m. or probably 11 a.m. or something on those lines. We'll have an old chat about it anyway.
A lot depends
see,
on my daughter's sporting activities.
Oh yeah. That's true.
Depends on
as
work,
well, especially
too.
on the
Yeah.
yeah. We'll see what we can do anyway. Because this time is kind of funny because it's a time when a lot of Americans are coming home from work and stuff. But on the flip side of things, it's when a lot of Irish people are going off to bed. It's difficult to find the right balance and see when's the best time to go live streaming and stuff. But we'll have an old discussion. We'll have an old chat about it anyway, and we'll see what we can do. We won't get rid of this live stream anytime soon. We might make a few adjustments and stuff to it. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for all that stuff. Myself and Rachel will be live streaming on Wednesday. We'll be covering the medieval news, which reminds me, myself and Rachel right now are trying to raise money, donations for a fifth. We're doing research into a 15th century clothing of the Irish up around the Munster region, especially to do with the Desmond Fitzgeralds. So definitely, if you want to support that, it's on GoFundMe. It's called Help Recreate a 15th Century Irish Ensemble. I will send you the link now. There we go. Oh, thank you so much for that one, lads. All your donations, thank you so much for all that one. It is literally right now, as myself and Mihal were saying earlier, our lifeline, because Jesus, there's so many books we have to get right now and catch up on. In particular, for myself, it's definitely what was it called? Gaelic World at War is a book I am chasing after right now. That's a copy of it right there. So this is a book. Your donations will help pick up. So all your donations are worth so much to us here in Irish medieval history and also over in clans and dynasties. Owen, if somebody wants to support your work, what's the best way to do it? And what video or what project are you working on right now?
Okay, I have Buy Me a Coffee account, which you can find under any of my videos, the details. If you just
Mm,
type Buy Me a Coffee Forrest Fassa, you'll find it. Um,
mm.
FORAS and then FEASA is actually written here on the screen. Um, I brought out a video last week on Newgrange, and then I'm hoping the next week or so to bring out one about the. This is much earlier about the megalithic world in Ireland,
Mm,
and then
yeah.
the next long one would probably be on history of Valentia Island. I'm going to try and do a walk and talk, depending on the weather,
Aye,
because I could
nice.
get blown into the sea.
I hope not. I know it sounded a bit sarcastic there, but Jesus Christ, the amount of people I know, all right, that have been blown into the bloody Irish Sea, and that's them. Bye bye, off they go. And if they get pulled away, it's the bloody cold water that finishes them off. It's very
I,
bad
I'm
for them.
I'm the Atlantic. I'm the Atlantic. In front of me is Canada, so it's it's wilder.
Definitely bye bye. Yeah, I can imagine. So, and once again, thank you so much for all those donations, guys. It means so much to us. And definitely, and as I was saying before, our main goal is to both get a hold of Gaelic World at War, and also on top of that as well, send your donations over to the GoFundMe project for myself and Rachel, who are raising money right now to put together a 15th century Irish clothing in the Munster region to do with the Desmond Fitzgeralds. Myself and Rachel are raising money for that. So if you're interested in that, definitely head on over to the GoFundMe, help recreate a 15th century ensemble. And also, if you support myself and Mihal in particular, our reading, definitely send us your money there, and we'll try to pick up. I'll try to anyway. We'll be able to get sorted, no problems. I think you've got enough funding on your side because of the t-shirts and stuff, and the if you want to buy a mug and all that stuff, get in contact with Mihal there. He'll sort you out with a cup and a t-shirt there, with your
Just
surnames and
click the
stuff as
link in
well.
the channel. Just click the link
Yeah,
on the channel.
yeah.
If you want to see any of yours appear, just write comments below, and we'll try and get it sorted. We're trying to build up on it, but it took a bit of a back burner for a couple of years. We just tried to let it do its own thing, but maybe 2026 is just a year where we just sort of start ironing out some of the old and come in with some of the new. So, yeah, yeah. So just click the link. I think it's linked on below your page as well.
Yeah. It should
So
be, unless something's happened to it. But at this stage, I have no idea. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for all the
I
support
just
and
wanted to
all.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Queeveen because he mentioned that his O'Sullivan family comes from Valencia. You don't happen to know their
Mm,
nickname because here there's so many O'Sullivans. Each family has a nickname and or the
Jesus.
townland they come from. So if you want to just throw them on the chat before we finish up or next time.
and also,
We'll try to cover that next time for sure.
did I just see someone donated there? And
Yeah, someone
Give
donated
us
a
a second
tenner.
there. Probably missed it.
Thomaker, yeah, Thomaker,
Yeah.
donated Gurmaraka. Yeah, thank you very much. I don't know who that went to, but thank you very much again. Really do appreciate it. So
Yeah, oh, massively, especially when we need to get ordered and stuff. I'm way behind. I need to get a hold of that one, all right, so I can get up to date with the Irish military history as well. I don't know if there's any books you're trying to grab for this year as well, Mihal and Owen. But the number one book I'm trying right now is the Gaelic World at War. So that you're donate. Oh, Jesus Christ! Thank you so much for that one as well. Lucky Penny, €3. Thank you so much for that donation as well. It means so much to us for sure, especially in this day and age as well. But I'll finish up there unless Owen wants to say anything else as well. Owen looks like he wants to jump
No,
inside
I'm
there.
fine. I'm fine.
Happy days, happy
No,
days.
no.
Okay, right. I finally finish up there after saying another a long Irish goodbye. There's an Irish goodbye where you just walk away, and then there's the long Irish goodbye which takes 2 hours and a half, especially with myself. But I'll start finishing up there anyway, lads. I see you